welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher. So let's jump right into it. We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and welcome back to another arcade video here on the channel. I haven't done one of these in quite a bit, but today I'm turning this Arcade1up Terminator 2 cabinet into a light gun multicade using the retro shooter from retroshooter.com. So before we get started in this video, like always, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button for me, smash that like button, it really does help the channel out, and check out all the new merch I have for sale down below. You will not regret it. But do me a favor, check out this video if you love arcades, because you know what, this is a simple and easy way to get a light gun multicade in your own home. Let's check it out. So when you open up your Arcade1up, you're going to see your PCB board along with a slew of wires. Now you're going to see a few extra wires in this thing. We'll get to that in a bit, but regardless, you're going to have to remove the PCB with a screwdriver and take it off, put it aside. You aren't going to need it for now. Once you have that removed, this is what you're left with. You see one of those wires is for the antenna. We're not going to touch that, just leave it right where it is. But the other two cables you are going to use, we're going to connect them to the controller board. One of the things you guys are going to want to do are the three wires that are coming out of the control deck. I've gone ahead and used painter's tape to tape them to the side of the cabinet. There are no need for this wires once we mod this cabinet. However, I will say this, I've gone ahead and left everything alone. So in case you ever wanted to go ahead and convert it back to a stock Terminator 2 cabinet, you can do so. The first and most important thing we have to do is connect our ground wire to the controller board. Next, we're going to connect our CN5 converter cable as shown. Then, of course, we connect our main cable to the top of the converter board. Anyone who has done mods before on Arcade1ups, this is the same steps we've been using since the ETA Prime video. Now for the HDMI and the power cord, keep in mind in the T2 Arcade1up, the power cord is spliced into two parts. Make sure you're putting in the right wire into this port. Next up, we have the audio. Back in the day in the ETA Prime video, we had to get an amp, we had to get some wires, and of course, we had to find the right speakers to go along with the amp. I wanted to use the stock speakers from the T2 Arcade1up, so what I had to do was purchase this 4-pole female jack to stereo audio adapter, and then again, go ahead and place an order for a 4-pin connector plug. Don't fret, guys, the links to both of these items are in the description of this video. Link them up as shown and as shown on the controller board, and this should work. So this is how your controller board should look when all said and done, okay? Now, the first thing I'm going to say, the first thing you should do is actually set up your ground wire. You will have to harness a nut from Home Depot, Lowe's, any type of hardware store. They're easy to find, just match to the screw that it comes with from the Arcade1up. The next thing we'll have, of course, is our wires coming from the monitor itself. One here and one here. We have our power source. We have our HDMI cable. We have our controller board. This is important, guys, because this is how you're going to be able to control the volume, the contrast, the brightness, all that stuff once you turn it on. So this has to be used. I know some previous Arcade1up tutorials, they say you don't really need to use this thing, but this one you will absolutely need. And eventually, I will go ahead and use double-sided tape to stick it right about there on the board. The next thing and an important thing is you do not need an amp. These controller boards come with a built-in amp that goes right here. You will need to source these parts from Amazon, and it will have a description where I got all these things and the parts that I used in the description of this video, so check it out and make sure it's wired the correct way. This is actually the stock speakers that come with the Arcade1up, and it should work perfectly. So the one thing I want to mention to you guys is this: the power source to the Arcade1up is spliced in this unit. The one power supply is going to go into the controller board, and the other splice piece goes right into the light up marquee. It would go right there. However, I'm going to say to you guys this: I have a modded cabinet, meaning I have a different marquee because I wanted to get a better looking marquee that I got from Retro 530. I also got a separate light up coin door for this unit. So included for me was this giant cable which actually spliced everything together. And you're going to see it's a little bit different setup. This would plug right into here, and this marquee would go right into the top of here. But if you have an original Arcade1up, you're going to go with the first solution that I showed you. If you do decide to pick up these extra pieces that I got from Retro 530, They will include the wiring for the light up marquee and the light up coin buttons for the coin door. Here is what they look like. I actually think he makes great products, so check him out, Retro 530. Alright, so here is Retro Shooter Pandora Box, straight from freaking China. Now, as you open this thing, you're going to see the guns that come with it, the sensors. They do need to be put together, the guns I'm talking about. Of course, underneath that are the foot pedals for Time Crisis and such games, and all the power cords, connections, and everything you need to hook this bad boy up. Again, tutorials will be at retroshooter.com or just search on YouTube. After we get the Retro Shooter out of the box, the first thing we're going to want to do is an older mod to this cabinet. When I first got it, the easiest thing to do was actually remove these gun holder, the plastic pieces, turn them over, and then cut out a nice hole at the bottom. This way the cords can slide easily back and forth through the system inside. Once you remove the guns from the cabinet, the Sin and light guns that come with the Arcade1up, all I'm doing is wrapping the wires around them and keeping them inside the cabinet so they do not get lost. If ever I want to sell this cabinet, I know they're right there. I don't have to worry about it. Of course, here we have our HDMI and the power source connected on one end to the controller board and the other end to the Pandora's box. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and show you the rest of the Retro Shooter setup. There are tutorials and videos on YouTube to go ahead and do that, of course, and on retroshooter.com. Roughly, this is what it should look like. For the power for the Pandora's box and for the Arcade1up, I personally like to keep all the wiring inside the cabinet. Here we have two of the power sources plugged right into a breaker bar that I actually mount inside the cabinet. I'm also using this EMI filter to interior surge strip or power source on and off button. That will connect right to the breaker bar and allow me to control the on and off aspect of the whole unit through this switch. This is just a personal preference to me. I like the way it looks with no wires visible. I got this from DIY Retro Arcade, and the link will be in the description of this video. As you guys know, the Retro Shooter is a light gun and requires sensors in order for the gun to be able to react to the gameplay. So the best place that I found to actually put them is right on top of the cabinet. Now, you may not like the way they look, but to be honest, for gameplay, it really does work. So you're going to take each one of these right here, you're going to make them flat. So these would go on the top of a TV, but considering we're not going to place these on the monitor, and we're going to place these right at the top of the cabinet, they really actually end up working perfectly. And you can use some double-sided tape. That's what I did. Some like pads that are thick 3M pads. They really hold in place well. For me, I don't know about you guys, but I hate when I have exposed wires to anything. So the easiest solution for me was to just drill a nice hole in the back of the Arcade1up along the top and just fish the wires through to give it a nice seamless look. Now, it's not perfect, don't get me wrong. You probably could have just disassembled the Arcade1up and fished them through behind the top of the cabinet, but I didn't want to do that. I thought this was a nice, easy, simple solution, and I think it looks okay. So all the wires are hooked up. Right now, we should have audio. We should have video. This thing should actually be working. However, the one thing that I haven't figured out how I'm going to do yet is the Retro Shooter comes with actual foot pedals for games like Time Crisis. For now, I'm just going to have a run of wire around the back if I want to play that game because I don't want to cut holes in the riser or part of the wood. So for now, that's a workaround for that game. But other than that, we should be ready to go. Now that we have our sensors placed, it is time to fire this bad boy up and test it out. So obviously we have video. Let's hope that we get some audio out of this thing. Right out of the box, the blue gun is player one. Now this can be changed. I'm not going to get into the whole Retro Shooter setup, but there are dip switches at the bottom of the guns. In the manual and the videos from retroshooter.com, they'll show you how to do it. Let's go to a game I know, Duck Hunt. So right out of the box, it's working so far. Let's configure the gun and see what happens. We have audio. I'm a dead shot. That's it for this tutorial, guys. Again, you guys know I'm into arcades, I'm into comics, I'm into toys, a whole bunch of stuff. That's why it's Mighty Comics and Collectibles. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It's Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.